At 42 years old, Marcus realized something was wrong. Not dramatically wrong. Nothing had collapsed. He still had a decent job, a decent house, 2 cars in the driveway, bills getting paid on time. From the outside, his life looked completely normal. But one morning, sitting alone at his kitchen table before work, he opened his banking app and noticed something that quietly unsettled him. After nearly 20 years of working, he had built a lifestyle, but not much else. No real financial margin. No meaningful investments outside retirement accounts. Credit card balances still following him month after month. And the part that bothered him most was this. He had done almost everything the way he was told to. Work hard, stay consistent, increase your income, be responsible. But somehow, the future still felt financially fragile. That realization stayed with him the entire day. Because Marcus wasn't irresponsible. He simply spent 2 decades doing what almost everyone around him was doing. Earn, spend, upgrade, repeat. And somewhere in the background, he assumed the future would eventually organize itself. Most people think financial failure looks obvious. Usually it doesn't. Usually, it looks normal. A decent income, a decent neighborhood, a decent car. A life that appears stable from the outside, but underneath the surface, the structure is weak. And weak structures eventually reveal themselves. Here's what almost nobody explains clearly about your 40s. This is not the decade where opportunity disappears. In many ways, it is the most important financial decade you will ever have. Your 20s gave you time, but no money. Your 30s gave you responsibilities before clarity. But your 40s give you something different. Income, experience, professional value, pattern recognition. The problem is, most people reach this decade carrying invisible financial leaks they never learned to notice. And those leaks quietly consume the exact years that could have changed everything. If you are 40 right now, you may still have 20 years of earning and compounding ahead of you. That sounds long. It isn't. Because compounding is brutally sensitive to time. People think delaying by 5 or 10 years only slows the process slightly. It doesn't. It changes the entire outcome. Every year delayed is not just lost savings. It is lost multiplication. That's the part people never feel in the moment. You feel spending immediately. You feel convenience immediately. You feel lifestyle immediately. But you do not feel lost compounding until much later, when the numbers no longer have enough time to recover. That is why this decade matters. Not because you need to become rich overnight, and not because you need some aggressive internet strategy, but because the window is still open, and most people do not realize it until it narrows. The first trap almost everyone falls into during their 40s is lifestyle absorption. Because by this stage of life, most income increases disappear instantly into existing systems. A slightly larger mortgage, a slightly nicer car, more convenience, more recurring expenses. Nothing feels excessive individually. That is why it becomes dangerous. The system slowly expands until every dollar already has a destination before it arrives. And when every dollar already belongs somewhere else, investing begins to feel impossible, even on high incomes. That is why people earning $120,000 can still feel financially trapped, while someone earning far less quietly builds wealth. Income matters, but structure matters more. Marcus realized this slowly. At first he thought he needed a higher salary, then maybe a side hustle, then maybe a better investment strategy. But eventually he saw the real issue. His money was not building anything. It was maintaining a lifestyle. Those are not the same. One compounds, one resets. That realization changed the way he viewed money. For the first time, he stopped seeing his paycheck as survival income. He started seeing it as capital flow. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" he started asking, What is this preventing me from building? That question changed his behavior quietly. The second shift came when Marcus finally understood debt correctly. Most people think debt only becomes dangerous during crisis. That is not true. Debt becomes dangerous long before crisis because it quietly steals future options. Marcus had around $16,000 spread across multiple credit cards. Nothing catastrophic. The payments were manageable, and manageable is often the most dangerous financial condition, because manageable delays action. So he built a system, not emotional, not extreme, structured. Every extra dollar attacked the highest interest balance first. Spending tightened. Unnecessary subscriptions disappeared. Random purchases slowed. Not forever, long enough. And during that year, something unexpected happened. The financial pressure started shrinking, but more importantly, the mental pressure started shrinking. People underestimate what debt does psychologically. Debt creates background noise, a low-level anxiety sitting underneath everyday life. It affects decisions, clarity, confidence. And once the debt disappeared, money stopped feeling like something attacking him. It started feeling like something he could direct. That transition is where financial momentum begins. Then came the third realization. By your 40s, you likely possess something extremely valuable: experience. Years inside an industry, years solving problems, years understanding systems most beginners cannot see. And yet, most people trap all of that value inside a single paycheck. Marcus worked in logistics. Not glamorous, not exciting. But after nearly 18 years in the industry, he understood inventory systems better than most small business owners. One former client asked for help, then another. Eventually, he was making an extra $1,400 a month consulting remotely on weekends. Not enough to completely change his lifestyle, but enough to completely change his investment trajectory. Because secondary income behaves differently psychologically. Primary income supports life. Secondary income can support freedom. That distinction matters. When extra income flows directly into investments instead of lifestyle upgrades, compounding accelerates much faster. And gradually, the numbers begin moving differently. Not emotionally, mathematically. That's the thing people misunderstand about wealth. Wealth rarely arrives dramatically. It arrives quietly. Debt shrinking, investments growing, stress reducing, cash flow stabilizing. From the outside, almost nothing looks different, but internally, the structure is transforming. For almost 2 years, Marcus's life looked mostly the same. Same house, same job, same routines. But underneath the surface, everything had changed. The debt was gone. Investments were automated. Brokerage accounts were growing monthly. Secondary income was compounding into assets. And for the first time in his adult life, he was no longer resetting to zero every month. That is the moment most people are actually searching for. Not luxury, not status, momentum. Because once momentum begins, anxiety starts decreasing. You stop feeling trapped. You stop feeling one emergency away from collapse. Your future stops feeling fragile. And the strange part is that peace rarely comes from huge wealth. It comes from finally knowing the structure works. That is what financially stable people understand. They are not calm because everything is perfect. They are calm because the machine is functioning. Money is flowing into assets. Assets are producing growth. Time is multiplying effort. The system is alive. Most people spend their lives trying to increase income while ignoring the structure surrounding it. But structure determines outcome. A person earning $250,000 with weak systems can remain financially fragile. A person earning $80,000 with strong systems can quietly become financially free. Marcus said something interesting a few years later. I spent most of my adult life thinking I needed more money. What I actually needed was direction. That sentence explains almost everything. Because direction changes behavior. Behavior changes systems. Systems change outcomes. And outcomes, repeated long enough, become entirely different lives. If you are in your 40s right now, understand this clearly. You are not out of time, but you are in a window, and windows close. The good news is you do not need perfection. You do not need extraordinary intelligence, and you do not need to become obsessed with finance. You need structure. A system that continues working even when motivation disappears. Because motivation fades, discipline fluctuates, but automated systems continue. And over long enough timelines, systems almost always defeat emotion. That is how real wealth is built. Quietly, repeatedly, without attention. One payment, one investment, one better decision at a time. If this shifted the way you think about money, subscribe to Silent Finance. Because this channel is not about hype. It is about understanding the systems quietly controlling your financial life and learning how to make those systems work for you instead of against you.